guest today is author Scott Hammond.
Oh.
Scott is very well known in Humboldt County. He is a top salesman for Suddenlink. He is a dynamic Toastmaster.
Wow.
He is a remarkable father. His book is called Everyday Dad. Scott, hold that book up and let our listening audience see your book.
It's the Everyday Dad, the Guide to Becoming a Better Father.
You are the father of 9 children.
True.
And you are very much involved with organizations that back, support, and uplift children with special needs as well.
Mm-hmm. That's also correct. Thank you, Rebecca.
Scott, if you had one gift that you could give children, that parents could give children, what would that gift be?
The gift, I thought about that for a moment. The gift that I would give kids is a twofold. One is a love for God and a love for people. Because I think those are the two main commandments, and I think if you have those two issues in order, you're going to have an ordered life and an ordered universe. Because the rest, everything else stems from those two things. Two of the simplest things to do, but also two of the very most difficult things to execute.
You hit the nail right on the head, because without love, what is there?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
What are the common mistakes you think most parents make with their children in today's society?
That's a great question. The answer to that is, I think it's clearly, it's threefold. One is a lack of time. I think people don't spend enough time with their kids. I think they ignore time and time management as a priority. Number 2 is they don't identify their priorities, their goals. What's my mission? What's my passion? Is it really about family, or is it about my golf game? Is it about my hobby or my self-soothing satisfaction habit? Do I make family, do I make my kids my priority? And a lot of folks just simply don't, or they ignore that as a priority. And what I've told dads in interviews I've done and talked about this is hey, if family's not your priority, at least tell everybody. At least let everybody know that you're set out to do something other than family. So at least we're all put on notice, so we can all know what that's about. So I think family having no priority, having poor time management skills, and then the third would be distraction. I think we're all about bright and shiny objects. And look, there goes a squirrel, and there's a red ball. And we're so freaked out about so many things that are happening that we don't really land on what's core in our lives and what's core to our value system and our passion.
So what you're really saying is you're going to wittingly or unwittingly navigate toward that which you're focusing on. And if your focus isn't your real priority, watch out, because it might be all you get.
Right. Right. Yeah, look what you might come up with.
Yeah.
Look what I produce. I'm a great golfer, but my family's a champ. You know, and a lot of professionals and people that are really successful in different fields have had 5 or 6 marriages. Or kids that are estranged for 20, 30 years. That they were really successful doctors, and he was the holy doctor, and everybody respected him, but he was a terrible alcoholic outside of the office. And so it's like, have this aligned, balanced life. It's really a solution. So I think you're going to ask that next.
Well, in other words, you're telling us that people should be real. In other words, if you're a nice guy out in the world, please be one at home and not an ogre. And if you're an ogre out there, please straighten that out, because nobody needs an ogre. Right.
Have continuity, transparency. My teenagers call that being legit. Are you a legit person? Are you genuine? Are you transparent? Are you for real in all aspects of your life? Do you have that balance? And I think, aren't we all looking for that?
I think we are.
Yeah.
What is the most important thing that you think that parents in general today need to know to help their children cope?
It's a great question. I think it's an equipping thing for kids. I think kids need incremental equipping. I thought, hey, I could give a one lecture thing and it would fix my kids, and it never ever works that way. It was like I thought I could give that one great speech to my son, and he would get it, and he would lock into it, and he would by my point of view. And life's not that way. It's a series of interactions, and I think we need to have grace, truckloads of grace on our kids and ourselves, to give them the opportunity to make mistakes, to own their mistakes, to own their consequences. I heard this recently, that we prepare the road for the kids as opposed to preparing the kids for the road.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we need to let our kids gracefully fail and really screw up and really own some consequences, because those are the lessons learned for you, for me, for those of us that have been around for a while. The really scraped knees are the ones that really we learn from.
How do you suggest that parents create trust and the closeness and emotional connection that so many parents somehow don't seem to be able to know how to create with their children? Can you help them?
I think I can. One thing that we do at our house is I try to date my kids. In other words, I hang out with them. We have a set appointment. In other words, if you have a priority for golf or running or your gym or church or whatever it is, why wouldn't you have a priority to hang out with your family? And why wouldn't that be in your daytime or in your outlook? So I have specific dates where I hang out with my kids. We go to Los Bagels and we have a meal together. We go to the park together. We have specific times where I'm spending that one-on-one time where I really hang out with them and make it about them. It's not my itinerary, and it's not a lecture. It's to have fun with the kids and to do something that they like. So whether it's the movies or whether it's going to the park or catching a meal or grabbing a hot dog at Costco, we can hang out and be together. So I think one of the key things that parents need to connect to is dating their kids. And that goes for moms and dads too. I think moms and dads need to have a date too as a marriage, maybe one night a week. A lot of couples do that. They employ a weekly time together where they'll go out, and whether they go out to eat or anything, it really doesn't matter. We go to Costco. That's our Costco date. And people go, what's that? And hey, Costco, that couldn't be a date. Of course it is, because you have time alone. There's no kids screaming, and it's fun. And it's just us to be able to talk.
So the point is, it is a fact that we spend time where we love to spend time, and if we don't spend time with those we love, they start to wonder if there really are loved. Time is the most important thing.
One of the, I think I agree with that. One of the things I wrote in the book is time. Love is spelled T-I-M-E.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's always about quantity of time, nor is it just quality time, because we can use quality time and go, hey, I gave my 10 minutes and I'm done. It was quality time. And I think that's a really baloney rationalization some fathers specifically use. But parents need to spend quality and quantity time together with their kids. So there's both, because I think both come from one another. And when I'm hanging out with my kids and I see like a quality moment, and they don't happen all the time. Maybe my son Micah might just go, hey Dad, I want to talk to you about this one thing. And it might be that one little window where I got that opportunity to address an important issue for him. That becomes critical, and I won't get that quality moment unless I've had some quantity behind it. And so they kind of go hand in hand. And I think to create trust and closeness and a connection, you got to be spending time. And I think a part of that is touch. I think we need to be able to be huggers. My dad was an incredible, sweet old Bob, the hugger. And he hugged his grandkid. He hugged me. I'm 50 years old. He's hugging me. And and I loved it, and it was about appropriate touch. And I think that's a key too, that people, parents specifically, and spouses need to be able to have appropriate touch and display affection.
Human touch is vital. It actually affects our health. Babies die from lack of human touch.
Right.
Old people die from lack of human touch. We are really a strange nation that we do not understand the difference between appropriate touch and inappropriate touch. So we just imagine don't touch.
Right, we're fearful.
And, yes, we're fearful to care, to reach out, to hug.
Exactly.
To do what we need to do to let people feel the natural need for human touch.
Right. Yeah, and the underscoring is appropriate, You know, guys, don't be hugging all the women at work tomorrow. It's not the point.
It's not quite appropriate.
It's not appropriate. You know, don't touch, and yet an affectionate hug in the right context, you know, between consenting people, it's not bad. But especially with kids, and I know that I want to hug, especially my daughters, because there's plenty of other young guys that will eventually want to do that if I'm not doing that for me.
That's correct. If they don't feel the closeness, they'll be hungry for it.
They'll seek it out other ways.
Exactly.
And that's the last thing I want. I want to be
exactly.
hugging all over them, and you know, hey, just
hug your
don't
kids.
hug the wrong guys.
Hug your kids.
Absolutely, hug your kids.
Make it a point to hug your kids.
Absolutely.
What do you do to help children cope with today's social ills? What do you teach other people to do?
I think social ills, you know, can mean a lot of things. I think, you know, one answer would be we really encourage our kids to have appropriate friendships. You know, hang out with people that are appropriate to their lives. We let them do a lot of their own choosing in terms of friends, but we're still the parents. I told my kids, I'm not your friend. I'm your parent.
Right.
And I'm in charge, and I'm responsible before God and the universe and the government for you until you're out of here. So guess what? I'm in charge. I will control your universe to some degree. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like me. I'm still your parent, and I'm still your leader. And until you're 18 or you're out of here, I'm sorry, I'm that guy. So controlling maybe who they hang out with to some degree. I mean, we don't get too weird about that. But if there's a weird friend, it's like, you know, we might control that experience and have that friend over at our house.
In other words, making sure it's constructive instead of destructive.
Correct. And then there's the internet. I mean, everybody's online now, and the kids have everything to do with social networking and all. And so that's something that's really important. I think especially for young guys, and we haven't had to do a lot with it, but families do, online pornography. I mean, guys are really subject to that, and especially young guys, and they can stumble on it without even trying. And suddenly there's this influence. And what do you do with that? You know, if you're a parent and you know about that, you got to quell that and deal with it.
That brings us into the next question. How do you help kids cope with their own negativity?
It's a really good question. One of the things that we've done, and Joni's really good. My wife Joni, for 31 years, you've met Joni.
Yeah, she's beautiful, inside and out.
She's awesome, and she's a runner, and she's 50 years old. She's had 9 kids, and you wouldn't know it. And she's my spiritual advisor, and she's awesome. And my dad said, "Hey, Joni's wonderful," and I said, "Yeah, Dad, I know that." And he goes, "Yeah, she's really great." And I go, "Hey, what about me?" And he looked at me and he goes, You are smart enough to marry Joni."
And that's all the reward you get. It's a pretty good one.
Thanks, Dad. So, thanks for that. Thanks for nothing. So, Joni's awesome. And one of the things that we teach our kids is, hey, you have a voice. And if you have something negative and you want to express it appropriately, and you want to express an opinion in the household, and you don't like something, and you can talk about it civilly or offline, maybe one-on-one, come and talk to us. We're parents and we're listening, and if you're full of malarkey, we'll let you know, and if it's something we can work with and mitigate and help you with, we'll do that. You know, so free expression is really key. It's like, hey, you know, in a lot of parents and a lot of people in government and business, hey, it's an open forum, anything you want to say, until you say that one thing, and then you get the baseball bat on your head. Mm-hmm. And so you got to be careful with that. But the corollary for us is we really try to give our kids expression and give them the ability to grab concerns and express them appropriately. And I think when you do that, then you have a dialogue, and then you have this thing called a relationship, and then you have this thing called love, and then you have a connection, and then you start connecting to people, and pretty soon, look out, everybody, you're becoming a family. And that doesn't mean there'll be no conflict. There's going to be lots of conflict, because life is full of change and conflict. So I think there's a point in which we embrace those differences, talk about them. You know, why is there a rule? What, Dad, why is this rule? Well, here it is. Well, I don't know. It's really a dumb rule, huh? Maybe we don't have that rule anymore. We changed that. Or, hey, it's for safety. We do this because we don't want you to blow up the house. You know, don't play with matches because it's not, you know, you don't do this because the dog will get sprayed by a skunk. Okay? You don't let the chickens out because they'll get eaten by critters. You know, so whatever that is. And so there's reasons behind, and I think it's legit to tell your kids, this is why we do this when they question stuff, and allow them to question their universe, and do that in a spirit of constructiveness and respect.
I really am glad to hear you tell our listening audience to allow their children to question. Your children should learn analytical thinking and dare to question anything, including you.
Mm-hmm.
If they're afraid to
Right.
question, they will not be safe because they will not be wise.
Mm-hmm. That's a good word. You're right.
When your children are growing up and they're getting out there in the world and they're learning from school and they have conflicts, I think that kids don't realize, and some adults don't realize, that the contrast is what makes us think and what makes us grow. If there were no contrast, they would not develop analytical thinking. So how do you help your children see the contrasts that come into their lives? You said you taught them to ask questions. Do you also help them reach that out in school and take something that is discomforting and it's difficult and bring that home and discuss that on the board with you to help them see many sides of the story, that they might have some peace of mind within themselves over that?
Right. Good question. And how many questions are behind that question?
Just take it and run.
First of all, we homeschool, so we're a little bit different in that way. We've homeschooled since our 28-year-old was a little guy. And up to this point, we've actually turned out some really good citizens who are good thinkers. We have a grad student at UC Davis. We have a real successful web developer, and our oldest son. Our third daughter is a music major that graduated at Humboldt State. So back to education, there are a lot of PhDs who are SOBs. So a good education is not just about cramming knowledge in your head and being a smart guy or a smart gal. There's plenty of those out there. But a good education or well-rounded personality is somebody who's whole, who's balanced, who's genuine, who loves others, who is successful in a bigger, more fully orbed sense of the word. And so I think, you know, we try to be as open as we can as a family in terms of, you know, operating out of love and openness and exploring different opinions. And what's cool about open communication is that when opinions can be thrown out on the table, hey, what about this political thing, or what about this sexual thing, or this religious topic, or this other thing, Dad or Mom, what do you think? And they'll throw it out there, and it's great. Then we just kind of have a field day, and everybody can weigh in, and when it's appropriate and age appropriate, some of the stuff. But if there's a freedom to express and to examine things, and forget about political correctness. I mean, forget you. Let's talk about things. Let's get it out there, and let's keep it real, and I'm not saying hate speech or anything crazy. I'm just saying that there's a way, an openness to deal with things based on truth, based on love, and based on maybe a little common sense. And I think that's how kids learn, and I think that's a real exciting thing. And some of our kids have brought home some really nice chunks of stupid. We've been able to talk about that. Hey, how about
we all?
yeah. Hey, let's bring that out. I want to see that because we're going to talk about that.
I think that is really great, because so many kids don't have that option. Their parents don't know any better, but they become dictators.
Yeah.
So the kids don't learn analytical thinking, and the parents aren't always going to be there.
Good.
So if you can bring the problem or the idea, just the idea, the thought, the happening, set it on the table and diagnose it.
Right.
Inside out and backward. Then they learn to diagnose things that happen in their life and find the cause and effect.
Right.
And if you can teach them the cause and effect in that diagnosis, you are teaching them self-preservation and wisdom when you're not here.
That's right.
And that is such a great gift. Such a great gift. So many people think if they don't talk about it, it won't be a problem.
Right.
Wrong. You cannot save them from what they don't understand.
Good word.
You cannot protect them with ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
You protect them with wisdom.
Right.
And I also liked your statement about the PhD
Ah.
because I learned a long, long time ago that education does not guarantee wisdom.
No.
Wisdom is another level.
Mm-hmm. My mom used to talk about, she's from Iowa, and the old Iowa Midwest ethos. She used to talk about horse sense. They had real common sense. And I've met a lot of people who, many people with degrees are really, really kind of messed up people. And many people that have very little formal education, kind of, a lot of times are pretty balanced. And that's not completely true either way. So we had this debate, and my daughter, my third oldest daughter, came in the room, and she said, "Dad, I'm going to quit college, and I want to go to work." And I started making this argument for college and getting a degree and being educated, and come on, you know, go with this. Don't drop out of school. And my wife looked over at me and she said, "Hey, I only have an associate's degree. Do you think less of me?"
Whoa.
And I stopped. And I go, I'm definitely not going to win this battle. In fact, I could lose a giant war here.
You can win the battle and lose the war, yes.
So I just brought it back in. I said, you know, Brianna, do whatever you want to do. I'll support you and I love you no matter what. So you make a decision, and I'm going to support you. And, you know, educated people are not necessarily more noble on any level. Maybe they're overthought in some ways. But what's cool about Brianna is she's actually going back to school now.
I think that's really good.
She's making the choice, so she's going to go back.
I think that education is absolutely wonderful. The unfortunate thing, though, is when we are educated, we choose a field in which we become selectively good. And that field may or may not include human relationships.
Right.
It may or may not include financial education.
Right.
It may or may not include your health. So it's selective. And we don't do people a justice to assume that all wisdom is found in one person.
Right.
That is the error, because each one of us, no matter who we are, carry within us something somebody else doesn't know.
Sure. Right.
And if we respect that, then it's the open topic of diagnosis, which we all learn from.
Right. Now, what I heard you just tell me is, hey, be this balanced person who can maybe have selected specific knowledge in microbiology, and that's cool. But you need to balance your checkbook, and you need to not be an alcoholic, and you need to probably go to the gym, and doggone it, floss your teeth and brush your teeth good, and go to the dentist. Be a balanced human being, and have people skills, and be a people person who knows how to, maybe not just go along to get along, but knows how to relate with other people. And I think that is a valuable thing to teach kids in terms of relationships. And I think I've heard this said, many things are caught, not taught.
That's true.
And I think that's really true. We live our lives out loud every day, and some of the people that you influence the most, you'll never know because they just watched you.
Yes, and going along to get along might be wonderful on most levels, but when you forfeit your integrity and who you are to do that, you've paid a terribly high price.
Right.
And it always comes back sooner or later. And with this analytical thinking that we can teach children by letting them hash it out, or anyone, I love that. I love that. I love things that make us think. You don't have to agree, but if they make you think, they're good.
Right.
They're good things.
Yeah, nothing wrong with thinking. I mean, and exploring other people's point of view. I can hang out with all kinds of people and not get any on me. I mean, can you be confident enough in yourself, in your life, in who you are, to not worry about it and be able to love people unconditionally and hang out with them and not own their stuff if they're in a drama or in some sort of an effusive mode, and just be with them. And
so what you're saying is, can you trust you enough to keep your integrity no matter where you walk?
I hope so.
That's basically what you're saying,
let's
right?
hope that's true. Absolutely.
Absolutely. These problems or challenges and diversities that we've talked about diagnosing through critical thinking, is this the way you also solve problems within your family?
I don't know if that's always on logic. I think because I'm a human being and I'm the everyday dad, and I come home tired.
Every day?
Here comes the hypocrisy.
Okay.
You know, and you're yelling down the hallway. I mean, when I wrote the book, it's really funny. It's a true story. I wrote the book between poopy diapers, which is true. But I also wrote the book between screaming at kids, "Shut up, I'm trying to write a book on becoming a better dad. You're messing me up." So a lot of, yeah, and we laughed about that last night. Joni said, "That's happened more than 2 or 3 times, actually, when you were writing the book." I said, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah." So I think there's a, what was the question?
Well, I think the question is now, what are your children going to teach their children about you when you're gone?
Dad, man, he was a mess. I hope my kids say that, my dad had a great sense of humor. He, I'll tell you what they said, because it was my birthday 3 nights ago. We sat in a circle, and one of our family traditions, love this, might try it for birthdays, is say one thing about the birthday person that you really like. Okay? So, and then you go in the circle, and you know what? I always do that when it's somebody else's birthday. Okay, let's start this. Let's go. Your turn. Go, Brianna. Tell us about Michaela and what you like about her. And when it was my turn, I felt really uncomfortable. I felt, what are they going to say? And it turned out I was really, really encouraged as a man, as a father, as a husband, because what folks were saying, both friends and family and sons-in-laws, were saying things about my life that were amazing and positive and uplifting and upbuilding in my life. Sense of humor, you're very organized, and one that caught me was, Dad, sometimes when you don't get it right, you're at least very quick to repent and go make it right with people and go get it corrected. And I thought, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good implication. I like that. I'll go with that. It's so. Hopefully my kids will say something that, I loved God and I loved people and I loved them. So at the end of the day.
So you discovered after your birthday that you're a keeper.
Maybe. I mean, it depends on the day or on the night. I mean, am I going to go home tonight and scream at my kids and be crazy, man? And hopefully I won't be. And I need to be. As I've gotten older, I discovered that my energies. I have a certain number of life units, and my energy is drained often between work and home and the gym and stuff and life, and so I've got to keep some in reserve. So when I take it home for Joni and the kids, to be careful that I'm taking good care of them, and that I'm not all belligerent is what it comes down to. I think a lot of fathers, a lot of maybe parents in general, come up and they can get really belligerent, out of control. They've been nice at customer service all day.
They ran out of nice.
And they ran out of nice. Thank you. I like that. I'll use that. They ran out of nice, and they get home and they're mean to the people they love, to the people they profess to care the most about. They're flicking them or verbally abusing them or some sort of a meanness. And my dad said this well. He said, "Scott, children remember little kindnesses."
Mm-hmm.
And I've thought about that over the years. I thought, what are we all but a bunch of big children running around, and we need to give out that kindness, and even when we're tired and burnt out and don't want to. Maybe we fake it till we make it.
We are a bunch of big children. I read a story recently where a guy was going to commit suicide. He was on his way to jump off the bridge.
Wow.
And when he crossed the street, he was praying and he said, "God, if there's any reason you don't want me to jump off this bridge, anything you want me to do, you better show me now." And a woman stopped for him so she wouldn't run over him and gave him the most beautiful, sweet smile, and it took it crumbling. It saved his life.
Wow.
One smile.
One piece of kindness.
And it was a heartwarming smile. She had never seen him before.
Wow.
And she said that saved his life.
Amazing. Yeah.
So,
a lot of stories like that.
Kindness goes further than we know.
Mm-hmm.
It really does.
Mm-hmm. My dad also said it doesn't cost anything to be kind. Just say something nice. I mean, it doesn't have to be phony baloney. We're not asking about that. We're talking about, hey, thank you. Thank you for that. Or, hey, really like that hat is something else. I like your tie.
Well, also it's good to realize when we run out of nice,
Mm-hmm.
we really don't have to manufacture
Correct.
not nice.
Correct. Yeah, the disingenuous thing, we're not preaching that. But I think there's a point in which you can intentionally be extra nice. Maybe when you don't feel like it. Because a lot of times I don't feel like eating my vegetables. I don't feel like going to church. I don't feel like being married. I don't feel like getting up in the morning. I don't want to. I have to do, no, you don't have to, but you get to. And what that means is I don't have to eat my vegetables. I don't have to go to the gym, but I get to. And if I'm willing to shift my paradigm to really want to, because I see a benefit, and I am thankful that I have a job, and I'm thankful that I have a great wife. I'm thankful I got great kids. I'm thankful that I have a body that moves and I'm still healthy. Then it changes the paradigm completely to have to get to.
It really, really does. If you can appreciate the real blessings you have, wow, what a difference. If you had one gift of wisdom that you could give to our listening audience, what would you tell them?
I have 3.
That's
You want one?
good.
Here's 3. And it's all in one. Number 1 is know your priorities. Know what's important for you. Know your passion. And then be able to articulate that. Put it on paper. Remember, a goal isn't a goal if it's up here. A goal is only a goal when you have a pen and a piece of paper and you write it down. And then you own it. And then it's a goal. And so when you've committed it to paper, that's something that's important to you. So the challenge for the new year, take pen and paper, the poor man's laptop, the yellow pad, and write down 10 goals. 10 things that are really important to you that you want to see accomplished with your life. My father gave us this Tommy Hopkins cassette series on sales. And Tommy was one of the first motivational speakers, him and Zig Ziglar and all those guys. And in the back of this was a guide called The Blueprint for Life, and it was a goal-setting guide. And it's everything you'd like to have or accomplish or do in the next 1 year, 5 years, 10, 15, 20 years. And the net was, my dad gave me this, and I actually laughed. I thought, oh, I'm just a hippie from Humboldt. I won't use that. I started using it, and I started writing down goals, and suddenly I started producing results. My life is working in ways I didn't see coming. And so I wrote these goals down, and I was able to really start to accomplish some things. So number 1 is write goals. Write your goals down. Know what your goals are. Know what your purpose is. Number 2 is manage your time. The 80-20 rule is real easy, and you'll recognize it right away. 80% of your results come from about 20% of your efforts. And it's Vilfredo Pareto was an Italian economist, 1700s, and he came up with this notion that most of your results come from a very small part of your work. And so what that means is that 80% of your life is meaningless. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
No, but the 20% that you yield the most results from, you've got to guard that and know what that is. So if you apply that 20% to an 8-hour workday, you've got 96 minutes to get the job done, baby. So what do? You close your door and you go make calls, or you go sculpt art, or you go compose music, or whatever it is you do that's your prime activity. And so I would say manage your time is number 2. Have goals, manage your time, and manage it judiciously, especially that 2-hour window. And you can really put it on steroids if you know when your prime time is. So, Rebecca, if your prime time is 9 to noon in the morning, you close the door, you're ready to go at that point. Some of us, for our kids, like some of my kids are like midnight. I'm asleep, and they're like primed and ready to go, so they're all focused. So for some people it's afternoon, but for a lot of us, it's kind of, some of us are early 30 birds, you know, like 4:30 to 6:30 a.m. They get all this stuff done. Hate those guys, I'm sleeping. But 9 o'clock to noon, you're ready to go. Most of us are kind of in that same window. So close your door, do your primary activities. Remember, the main thing is to keep the main thing
The main thing.
the main thing. And so find out what that is. And then lastly, we touched on this a little bit, is so have goals, manage your time, and be a good communicator. Know how to have people skills. Know how to talk, and then know how to listen. And know how to affirm what you said to your child, to your spouse, to your family member, and if they got it, and if you exchange that information, and have them play it back. Did you really understand what I told you about feeding the chickens? I really need to know that you got that, and have them repeat it back, and then have an exchange. And really, you know, we got one of these and 2 of these. So use them in proportion and be a good listener as you're a good communicator. And a lot of us are really good lecturers, blah, 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 blah. And the kid gets screensaver eyes and they're going, oh,
Yeah,
heard it before, what's he done? You know, come on, go away. And, you know, if you can't say it in 2 or 3 minutes, maybe you need to get it down to 2 or 3 minutes, because they're in a YouTube generation and they need some bite-sized bits. So have goals, manage your time, and be an awesome communicator and a relator, not just one-sided communication, but make sure it's a both-way exchange.
So 50% of communication at least is listening.
Amen.
And when you listen, really listen. Hear them.
And repeat it back.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Did I hear you say X?
Yes.
Yes. No, Dad, you didn't hear that right.
Validate the fact that you did hear them and you do understand and that it sunk in.
Right. And that takes us to, especially any type A people out there, slow down, deep breath, focus your eyes and listen and look and listen and learn. Because these are the people that are your priority.
That is absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much for letting me interview you. It's been delightful.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to The Rebecca Kimball Show. This is Scott Hammond, our guest today. Scott is the remarkable author of this book. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Rebecca.